great to meet you. Where are you located?
I'm in San Francisco.
Okay, cool. Excellent. It's beautiful out there. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, one of the jazz cradles.
Yes, of course. How wonderful.
Yeah.
I
Well,
see that fine background that you have there. That is great.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm a visual artist, so that was one of my originals. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I just incorporated the logo into it and we ran with it from there, so it's all good.
Oh,
Um,
that's wonderful.
yeah. So I love the new album. I've already profiled it on the program. I tend to wait until I talk to the artist, but I was so excited about this that I had to put it on. So before we get into It's Here, I want to know, I know we're all getting fatigued by talking about COVID, but it was such a big moment for all of us, especially
Oh,
musicians. How did you survive that time period, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
oh, well, I think like a lot of piano players in particular, I just taught online, and I didn't have like at the time. I think there was like a limit to not a limit, but just like a minimum of followers that you could have on a YouTube platform to give a streaming concert. And I didn't have that at the beginning. So I was just kind of like, what am I going to do? And so performing was kind of not kind of, it was completely off the table for a period of time. And, and then, things started to coalesce and we all started to change our mode of being. And, I ended up getting the requisite amount of followers, and I gave a couple of streaming, solo streaming shows. And it's funny. I think it also depended a little bit on what kind of network you were hooked in with other musicians, because I had friends who were out there doing numerous streaming performances, and but I just wasn't part of that same milieu necessarily.
Yeah.
So I just kind of coexisted with my computers and devices and posted a lot of me playing things and did a lot of transcription, a lot of composition, tons of composition. So that's kind
Yeah.
of how I survived. I don't know if I did though,
Yeah, right. I know. I don't
because
know
I
if any
think
of
I'm a
us did.
little screwy.
Well, I kind of feel like there was a show on HBO for a while called Left Behind. I believe that was the name of it. It was about a rapture, and it happened on October the 14th, and everyone that was left behind had to figure out what's going on. And I sometimes feel like that's what's going on now. Like we have gone through quite an event, and we're all here, and it really kind of sharpened our philosophies and spiritualities and our directions as to what we're going to do from here on out.
Right. Yes. Well, and you bring up this concept of spirituality, and I'm kind of surprised I didn't uh, kind of move more strongly in that direction. I just really focused on the piano.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I,
I interviewed somebody at one point that said, I'm not a real religious person, but I listen to John Coltrane every day.
and yeah,
So sometimes music is the religion and it's the thing that saves us and gives us hope for everything.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I remember the morning after Kurt Vonnegut died, I was listening to the radio. I always have to have a radio on in a room. And I stopped by the coffee maker and it said specifically that Kurt Vonnegut he was famously an atheist, but if he were to believe in God, it would be because of music.
Ah, and there you go.
That's it. That's the caveat. So with It's Here, talk to me about how you artistically put this album together.
Oh, okay. So, a lot, well, should I say a lot? I would say I can't tell what percentage, but there's a number of compositions that came out or and arrangements that came from the lockdown. It was supposed to be like an extension of my second album, which was also a quintet, and was kind of going for that. Well, not kind of. We were definitely on our way for that to capture that post bop sound, and we'd been gigging and things were going along. Then lockdown comes around, and it was this particular project had grant funding, and the grant was cycle was supposed to end June 20th. So it was supposed to be done June 2020. That's what I mean to say, June 2020. So, um, uh, but COVID came along and kind of stuck out its leg and we all tumbled over it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't finished with the project and got a grant extension and then just continued composing. Um, so many of the compositions there are I think it's just me imagining togetherness a lot. There's it's it has, it's darker moments, but there's some really uplifting times on this album, and or at least I perceive them as such, and or intend them that way. And I think it was just me gathering spirit to just continue to live and feel like I hadn't lost things, which I really hadn't. If you've got the feeling inside yourself, then you haven't lost.
Yeah. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I hope upliftment and inspiration. That's what I hope. I mean, and also like a feeling of resonance, because it kind of tracks. I mean, without really intending it this way in the beginning, I feel like I'm tracking an entire day of existence. You wake up and it starts with Stella by Starlight, but maybe the starlight is just the sun hasn't gotten up, hasn't risen yet. And then you go about your day and there's a periods of sunlight, there's mood swings, and then you get to the end and then um it's like that last track is kind of a lullaby that lets you go to sleep peacefully and not, with darkness, in your
Which
soul.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm starting to discover in my older age that I'm really kind of having a renaissance with listening to an album from front to back. And in this kind of cherry-picked kind of digital age that we live in, everybody kind of has all of these tracks they stream together for their favorite playlist. And it is so nice, like you said, to have that final lullaby. And it's so good to be able to listen to it from start to finish. And I do actually, I'm fortunate enough to do it because I have a CD player in my car. My son loves jazz and we always and I get a lot of them in the mail, so I'm always popping them in, and I just get to go through and through and through. So it's great.
See, and you mentioned the magic word of CD player.
Yeah,
I just, I wonder, because we have the return of LPs. I do hope we also have a return of CDs because they don't warp if you lay them out in the sun by mistake, and you can have them longer. They don't scratch
yep,
necessarily, or at least not to that degree. And um, I know they're small. And actually, when they first came into existence, because I'm old enough to know that, um, I uh, I was not thrilled because I liked the large format, being able to see the artwork,
yeah.
so encompassing. But CDs, they're handy. You can take them in your car. I love it.
So I get a lot of CDs obviously in the mail for what I do. So what I'll do is I'll collect them, and as we get towards Halloween, I'll give them to kids that I've already listened to and got the tracks off of, so I can move it on down the line. So I give it to the kids, and half of them are looking at me like I'm an alien that fell out of a spaceship. They're like, "What is this strange circular disc?" They have no idea.
Really,
Oh yeah.
they flat out don't recognize it.
They're just like, what do I do with this? And it's like, well, do you got a CD player? Well, what is that? Compact discs? Oh, I'll have to ask my parents about that. It's very strange.
Oh, I hope it convert. What a great idea.
But I think that there's a certain amount of them that are like, hey, cool. Or if I see a lemonade stand, because I have it in my car all the time, I'll pull over and I'll be like, hey, I'm going to give you guys some jazz. And then they're just like, oh, cool. So hopefully it's hooked at least a few of them and they listen to something they've never heard before.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So how did this journey into the music begin for you? Take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were kind of, how did you specifically get into music, and then how did it get into jazz?
Well, I was born I was born actually on a naval base in Portsmouth, Virginia. So my father was in the Navy,
Yeah.
and so uh, So does that count as being born in Virginia? I'm not sure
Of course it
because
does. Yeah,
I
you were on
guess
the
it
planet.
does.
You there was terra firma involved. You're good.
I guess so. But it was a naval base. And then not long after that, we were living in Fairfax for a little bit of time because he worked at the Pentagon. And then he got transferred out to San Diego. And then, like, when I was 6, we moved out to San Diego. And and then I've been in California ever since. And I grew up in San Diego. And so we don't think of San Diego as being a big jazz town, but my my uncle, my dad's brother, he played the flute, and he was a scientist. He was a researcher, and so he had numerous flutes, and he gave the family. I remember we got a copy of Time Further Out, and so we were, listening to Dave Brubeck, like, oh, this is the best thing. And my mother's side of the family, well, she played piano, and her father was a musician. So he played piano, accordion, and drums. And they're from the Chicago area. Both sides of the family are from the Chicago area. And he gigged with jazz bands. So she was a great fan of Ella Fitzgerald and Dinah Washington, and she loves Sergio Mendes, and so that was all just kind of circulating in the household.
Yeah.
That and Polish wedding music, all kinds of things. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Herb Alpert. Um, uh, so it was, and of course classical music, and so I started studying piano when I was 6, but when we got out to San Diego, and I just never stopped playing. I loved it. I loved Bach, I loved Beethoven, I loved Chopin was for my heart, definitely. And I played all the recitals, but it was mostly solo. I didn't really um all the way up until high school, I was really just playing solo. And then just through listening environment at home and things like that, I got interested in jazz, and then um, connected with people. But I still played solo. I went took an audition at the conservatory here in San Francisco, and that was for a solo piano performance. And they didn't have a jazz department yet, but mid degree, I you know I had already been listening to Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter, like on a daily basis, John Coltrane, McCoy Tyner, all of them. And I really wanted to study jazz, but since they didn't have that there, I studied composition, and I had been writing all along. So it all kind of came together that way.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Oh, um, that blew me away. Well, I'm not sure if I can remember the very first one, but I can remember seeing a not so very first one, seeing Wayne Shorter, um, like I guess it was in the 2010s or something like that. And that was just like watching the universe begin. It was like watching the Big Bang and listening to it too.
Yeah.
Um, it was, not my first experience, but I will never forget that experience. That was extraordinary.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So what is it that you like the best about being a professional musician? You've obviously grown and evolved, and you're rather prolific with what you do. But what is that motivation every day to wake up, to create, and to evolve as an artist?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question because often um, when I'm waking up, I'm thinking of, like, how it is when you're laying in a bed, you're just, thoughts are passing, you're not doing active thinking, thoughts are going by. So often it's like a rhythm or it's a melody, but more often it's a rhythm, and it's an interesting rhythm. So I want to get up and put some notes to the rhythm. And so a lot of my music is composed that way. So I would say it's a very um it's like some built-in rhythm that would like to come out. So that's quite literally with getting me out of bed and taking me to my instrument and searching for these things because I'm trying to, I don't know if I'm finishing a dream or something,
Yeah, that's
but
fascinating. Yeah, that's great. No, that's great. That's stream of consciousness. So at the end of the day, you've dedicated your life to this art form. Why do you love jazz?
oh, I love the interaction with other musicians. Uh, it feels like a true conversation, like you're speaking a true language. I don't even profess to say that I am a fluent speaker because that is an endless search. And I love the infinity aspect, the infinitesimal way that you can, or infinite way that you can continue to pursue this art form and have it always come up with something new. And you always find a new corner. It's you're never at a dead end. If you imagine yourself, or if you experience the feeling of being at a dead end, it's a signal that there's a door that you have not opened yet.
Yeah.
And that is such a um, it's comforting, it's inspiring, it's enlivening. I those are the things I love about this music.
So you've had a lot of experiences on a lot of stages geographically around the country, and you've been around a lot of musicians, a lot of elders and legends and luminaries. But at the end of the day, when you get around your students, what do you want them to know about how do you process all of those experiences? And what do you want them to ultimately know about this art form?
Oh, um, that's a good question. I think what I hope I'm conveying, and as a limited human being, I can't say that I'm successful at it, but I hope I'm conveying that along the way, you're always developing your self, not just your musical self, but your actual self. And wherever you are at in this development, however refined you have uh, brought, whatever level of refinement you've brought your skills to, you will always have something to say, and you will be able to say something, express yourself in some manner with skill. You just have to uh, be um, be skillful in how you assemble the ingredients that you have at hand, like a um, like a well thought out cook. You have your ingredients and you're going to skillfully put them together and create an expression that has that it is accurate. That's what I hope, and that is a an ongoing thing that happens your entire life. It, it's not like you reach a level and you don't have to think about those things anymore. And there's also conversely, you're not eligible to think this way. No, no, no. You can do this your entire experience with this art form.
So at the you've seen Wayne Shorter, which for a lot of people would be a dream show. But I got to know if you had the chance to hop into a time machine and go back in time and see one show, one performer, one band, one musician,
Oh,
where are you going?
oh gosh. Um, could I take multiple stops or is it
Absolutely.
just one?
Absolutely. You can have a buffet. You can go through it.
Well, I know technically this isn't jazz, but I really would love to hop back there and see what it was like watching Bach because
Yeah.
he improvised his fugues,
Yeah.
and then watching Mozart because he improvised, watching Chopin because he absolutely improvised, um, and then come forward and watch Art Tatum, obviously, Errol Garner.
Yeah.
He would improvise these incredible intros that were just like the from I don't know where that you would just like channel some music and then bust into a song. I mean, it was um, such an incredible. skill that he had
Yeah.
and creativity just right there.
Yeah.
Um, and then, of course, Wynton Kelly. I would dearly love to be in a room and experience Wynton Kelly. Um, so with time machines, those would be my guys.
Yeah, for sure. That would be quite a lineup. So let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, students, everyone that knows you, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Just who do I think I am?
Who do you think you are?
Uh, dear, who do I think I am? That's an excellent question because I think it's like an ever evolving thing and it will
Huh?
change depending on what day you are asking me that question.
Uh-huh.
But today, I think that I'm a musician who deeply loves the instrument piano from its inception way back centuries ago to its current expression in our uh, especially jazz uh, environment, our jazz culture. And I want to explore every corner of that. And but I am also a creative soul who very much has a need to compose things, and to I love to compose and solve like compositional puzzles or that um, involve other instruments and express textures and sonorities that the piano can only hint at. So whatever that is as means as a person, I think that must be what it is because I would like to convey this to my fellow human beings as an offering of um, like a way to empathize with the human condition.
Yeah. Well said. So It's Here is the brilliant new album, which I've already profiled on Neon Jazz. I urge everyone to go out and get it. And if they do, where's the best place to go get it and to catch you live? Any of the good business, previous works, where can they go?
Oh, okay. So I do have a website that has all of the works. Um, if uh, that's not a person's favorite place to go, I'm on Bandcamp,
Okay.
and you can catch everything there. And then on the streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, all of those. And then my next performance is coming up on November 8th at Mr. Tipples in San Francisco. And I'm in the process of connecting up some other new ones, hopefully outside of the Bay Area too, so that I can meet with all kinds of different people.
That's wonderful. Anne, this has been so great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story and passion.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate all that you do.